Hello, this is Dan, and I'm Brad Wolf, and today we're talking about OneD&D. Wait, we're not talking about OneD&D? We're not supposed to call it OneD&D anymore. It's now the 5th edition playtest for the 2024 version of the game. If you go back and watch our Druid and Paladin videos, I was pretty into it. I was looking forward to this new version of the game. But now, not so much. And I don't know if it's because I'm still kind of hungover from the OGL debacle, or I'm just burned out on reading playtest material, because not only am I looking at the OneD&D playtest material, I've also been looking at the Tales of the Valiant playtest material. I've been reading new editions like Shadow Dark, and going back and looking at other versions of the game that I've kind of ignored over the last few years, like Shadow of the Demon Lord. So I think for me, there's two things going on here. I'm still a little salty at Wizards for the OGL debacle. And then because of the OGL debacle, I've really spent a lot of time looking at other game systems and other game design. So I'm kind of burned out on game design at this point. In fact, I'm more motivated to make my own game than I am to keep reviewing other people's stuff. So that's the headspace I've been in for the past couple weeks, and that might be negatively influencing my opinions here. But overall, I'm not really liking the current direction of the 2024 5th edition. So this is raw footage of me reacting to the survey, and I had to edit it quite a bit because there was a lot of this and some of this. I still think the name is dumb. And this. I really didn't enjoy going through this survey because I'm not really digging the 2024 version of D&D so far. But for what it's worth, here we go. This is the survey for Player's Handbook Playtest 5. And the first question is, do you want to rate these? And I'm going to say yes. And then the next question is, what was the first edition of D&D you ever played? For me, it was basic. That's essentially Wizards of the Coast way of asking how old you are and how long you played the game. So next question, which section do you want to give feedback for? And we're going to check all of these because we're going to give feedback on all of it. So I'm going to divide this up into multiple different videos so that way it's not ridiculously long to watch. All right, so next question. Have you play tested the new weapons table? Yes, I didn't introduce it to my players and use it in my regular game, but I ran a mock combat with some miniatures and some dice and just tried to map out how these abilities would work. And that's a lot faster way to play test. Obviously, it's not the same, but you get the general feel. Have you playtested the weapon mastery properties? Yes. All right, next question. How satisfied are you with the weapons table? I'm going to say satisfied. So essentially, the new weapons table changes the light weapon property and the thrown weapon properties. So the light weapon property it's the same rule. They just move the rule from the combat section of the book to the weapon properties section of the book. So instead of telling you in the combat section that if you have 2 light weapons, you can use 1 in each hand, and then your bonus action you can use to attack with one of those light weapons. Now they just move that description over and attached it to the light weapon itself. And then the next one on the list is the thrown weapon property. This I actually really like. I'm going to say very satisfied with. So essentially the thrown weapon property allows you to draw the thrown weapon with the same action you use to attack with it. So this is actually a helpful design. It allows you to actually build a functioning character who's going to be throwing weapons regularly, because you're no longer using your interaction to draw a weapon. So in the 2014 design, even though a fighter could get multiple attacks, they weren't able to keep pace with their thrown weapons because they only got 1 interaction a turn, but yet they got 2 attacks per turn. So eventually you get to a turn where you only had 1 weapon in your hand, and then you could only make 1 attack. This fixes that. All right, so now we're moving down the list. This is question 8 on the survey. How satisfied are you with the weapon mastery properties? Now, if you haven't looked at these yet, essentially what they've done is they've added a bunch of different weapon properties to the weapons. This is trying to solve two things, really. They're trying to solve the fact that the weapons themselves aren't particularly interesting, and then they're also trying to improve the fighter class, because mechanically we all know the fighter is a little boring to play unless you're playing the battle master. So now we're going to run through these. Overall, I'm going to say very dissatisfied. I just don't like this system overall. Next on the list is cleave. This allows you to make a sweeping attack, so you hit the first target, then you can swing through and hit the next target as long as it's in 5 feet of the first. On this one, I'm going to say satisfied. Actually, no, I'm going to say dissatisfied on this one, and we'll come back to that later. Next on the list is flex, and I'm going to say satisfied on this one, even though I think the name's kind of dumb. It doesn't help me remember what it does. Flex allows you to take a versatile weapon and still do the full damage, the D10 damage, even though you're wielding it with one hand. So like your battle axe and your longsword do a full 1d10 damage, even though you're wielding it in one hand. So next on the list is graze, and that applies to the great sword and the glaive. So graze basically allows you to do damage even if you miss. I think the concept here is the glaive and the great sword are so big that even if you don't land a solid blow, you're still going to be able to glance, graze them. So I'm going to say satisfied on this one. I don't think it's bad design. I just don't like the overall concept that they're going for with this whole weapon mastery system. So next on the list is Nick, and again, it's a terrible name. It doesn't help me remember what it does. So Nick essentially lets you use your 2 light weapons to make 2 attacks without using your bonus action. I'm going to say dissatisfied on this, not because I don't like the ability. I think it's too good. They're essentially telling your melee rogues that you have to have this. And the only way to get it for a rogue is by a feat, and that essentially is going to become a feat tax. And that limits choice. If something's so good, every melee rogue is going to want to take it, then it's not really a choice. And feel free to disagree with me. Tell me in the comments what you think, why I'm wrong. I'm not afraid to have discussion, right? I do want to like this game. It's just starting to not. When I say this game, I'm referring to the 2024 edition of Dungeons & Dragons. Okay, so next on the list is push. I'm going to say dissatisfied. There's really nothing wrong with the ability, but I'll come back to that in just a minute why I'm dissatisfied with it. Essentially, push allows you to, if you hit a target, you can move it 10 feet. Not bad. So the next is sap. I'm going to say dissatisfied on that. It essentially allows you to, if you hit a target, you give it disadvantage on its next attack. So what I don't like about that is it's just more things for the Dungeon Master to track. And that brings us to slow. Slow, if you hit a target, they have a minus 10 feet to their movement. So this is more things to track. So if you have a barbarian and a fighter, one's giving sap to a target, one's giving slow to a target, then your wizard's hitting a target with Ray of Frost or Frostbite. So now you just got a lot of things to track. Next on the list is topple. This knocks a target prone. I'm going to say dissatisfied for this, and I'll come back to that in just a minute. And then vex, you give yourself advantage on your next attack. So you hit a creature, and then the next time you attack, you have advantage. That's actually not bad. I'm going to say satisfied on that one, because this is something the player is going to want to remember. You're not forcing your DM to remember more fiddly bits. So let's go back to, let's see, it was topple and push and cleave. Now, individually, I like all of those abilities, but as a whole, all 3 of those are things that the Fighter Battle Master can do. So are we just getting rid of the Fighter Battle Master? I think so. Overall, I just don't like that. I don't want to get rid of the Fighter Battle Master. It's one of the most popular subclasses for Fighter for a reason. I think you should just make the Fighter Battle Master the core Fighter class. So put the superiority dice and the fighter battle master maneuvers just into the fighter. That's just part of the fighter class. And then all your subclasses run off the superiority dice. I think that's just a much better fix for the fighter. Next is talking about the feats. Do I use feats in 5th edition? Always. And I'm going to say dissatisfied on this section. Not because I don't like the epic boons, because epic boons you get at 20th level and nobody plays at 20th level. So I don't really care about this. I've essentially had one game session with 20th level characters. All my other campaigns we stopped at 12th or 14th level. The only time we used 20th level characters was at the very end of a campaign. The characters faced off against the big boss and we wanted to try out 20th level abilities. So now we're at the point in the survey for the barbarian, and I'm going to stop here and call this video done. And then I'm going to come back and do the barbarian and the fighter together, and then I'll do 1 or 2 more videos covering the spell casting classes, the wizard, warlock, and sorcerer. Alright, so there you go. That's me filling out the first part of the Playtest 5 survey. Sorry it was a little bit of a downer. I just giving my honest opinion. I don't really like the weapon mastery properties, and I don't think it's the right way to fix the fighter class. I want Wizards of the Coast to do a better fighter. Let me know what you think. Am I wrong? Is this really cool? Is Jeremy Crawford legit when he says they've really enjoyed playing with this? I don't know. It's not working for me. But seriously, I'm super excited with the number of people who have subscribed and made comments recently. This is a brand new channel. I'm just getting things off the ground, and those of you who are engaged have been fantastic. I really appreciate it. So I want your feedback. Tell me, am I wrong? Do you play to 20th level on a regular basis? Do you like the idea of epic boons? Do you want to use these weapon mastery properties? Do you think they're going to make the game better? Let me know. More importantly, let Wizards of the Coast know. I put the link to the survey in the description below. Go there, fill it out for yourself. Let them know what you think. Again, I'm Brad Wolf. This has been Dire Den, and thanks for being here.